Fighters of the Unmanned Systems Battalion of the 65th Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces have intercepted and struck armored combat vehicles and manpower of the occupying Russian army in the occupied territory of Zaporozhia region, at a distance from the front line. The strikes carried out by kamikaze drones destroyed a total of 5 armored personnel carriers, several other armored combat vehicles, and Russian servicemen in the area, which were advancing and also parked in the open.
Occupied Mariupol is turning into a lawless zone like Lugansk or Donetsk. The Kadyrovites are establishing their own rules in the city with Moscow's consent. The famous Russian Z-blogger Ivan Otrakovsky spoke frankly about this. The propagandist noted that even among those local residents who had pro-Russian views, disappointment in Russia is growing. Mariupol was given over to the Chechens with all the consequences, instead of allowing the locals to build their own future. All this causes extreme rejection. It feels like they are doing everything to make the locals disappointed. Otrakovsky wrote. He specified that the impudence and wild practices of the new masters of the city horrify the local population. Mariupol, which has been under Russian occupation for 3 years, has become a real trap for local residents. Those who lost their homes during the fighting are forced to defend their rights in the occupation courts, but they face outright mockery, writes Astra. A local resident said that the authorities are forcing people to seek compensation through the courts, which often do not resolve issues even in their first instance. If the case reaches the second instance, there are no guarantees there either. Moreover, contrary to the laws of Big Russia, Mariupol residents are required to pay a state fee of 3,000 rubles instead of the required 300. Local residents are outraged. Having lost their only home and property, they are forced to pay exorbitant amounts for filing lawsuits and additional paid certificates. Even if the court makes a decision, it is often vague and incorrect. People cannot afford to hire lawyers, and consultations are expensive. Back in January, residents of Mariupol who lost their homes due to military actions addressed Putin with posters reading "Homeless." The houses were demolished without the consent of the residents. New housing was promised, but now mortgage complexes are being built on the site of the destroyed houses. It is impossible to pay such loans with their income. Residents note that the real restoration of Mariupol has not yet begun. Instead of providing people with a roof over their heads, Russian developers are buying up land in the city center to build expensive residential complexes. In fact, thousands of residents have been turned into homeless people, and their property has been raided.
As reported on the night of May 28, the Ukrainian Defense Forces dealt a very painful blow to the Russian military-industrial complex. The Kronstadt plant and a number of other enterprises important to the occupiers were hit. The details of the operation were published by the Ukrainian General Staff. It is noted that units of the Special Operations Forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine and the Security Service of Ukraine conducted a joint operation, hitting Kronstadt in Dubna, Moscow region. This enterprise is a key manufacturer of unmanned aerial systems, including such well-known models as the Orion, Inokodets, Molniya, Grom, Termit, Helios, Sirius UAVs, as well as ground control systems. Despite the intensive work of enemy air defense in the area of the enterprise, the General Staff confirmed the successful destruction of the target. The SBU struck the Raduga plant located in the same town at night. This plant is known for producing a wide range of air-to-air, air-to-ground, and ground-to-ground cruise missiles, including the very same Kh-101/555, Kh-69, Kh-59MK with which the Russian Federation terrorizes civilians and destroys Ukraine's civilian infrastructure on a daily basis. These strikes are a direct and fair response to the ongoing terror. The night attack was not limited to Dubna. Units of the Unmanned Systems Forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine successfully hit JSC Angstrom, also located in the Moscow region. A precise hit in the target area was recorded. Angstrom is a giant in the development and production of microelectronic components, critical elements widely used in the Russian military-industrial complex. Disabling or disrupting the operation of such an enterprise deals a serious blow to Russia's ability to produce modern weapons. In addition, the day before, the Ukrainian Armed Forces Unmanned Systems Forces successfully struck the Dmitrovsky plant in the Ivanova region of the Russian Federation. Powerful explosions were recorded on the territory of the plant. This enterprise is engaged in the production of organic chemicals, which are key components for the manufacture of explosives and gunpowder, as well as additives for rocket and aviation fuel. Its products are supplied to many other enterprises of the Russian military-industrial complex. Joint combat work of all components of the Ukrainian Defense Forces on such important enemy facilities directly involved in ensuring aggression continues. These pinpoint but destructive strikes are not only an act of retaliation for the daily shelling of Ukrainian cities, but also a strategic step to exhaust the aggressor and bring Ukraine's victory closer.